Good morning, seculars, or afternoon or evening, whenever you're listening. Welcome to Secular Minority. I am your host, Sunny Secular, and on this podcast, we give a non-religious, humanist perspective on life. We bring up current topics in social media, and we also share our deconversion stories. Think of this as a safe place for the extraordinary. Your race, ethnicity, gender, orientation, none of that matters because there's always a place for you here. Everybody is welcome. And with that being said, just want to introduce to you today, I am joined here with a guest. He is Oz from the Atheist Roundtable on YouTube. He also, if you wanted to find him, he's on Instagram as well as TikTok, where he has over 1,000 followers. Oz, how are you?
Doing fantastic. It's good to be here, and I've been looking forward to this chat. I always enjoy talking about the deconstruction and deconversion process. I think it's very important to talk about.
All right. Thank you for joining me for this. And thank you for taking the time out as well. So let's start from the beginning. Before we get into the, heavy questions, we'll just start out with something light. What was it like growing up as Little Oz?
Little Oz was kind of two different worlds for Little Oz. I had one part of my childhood that was great as far as athletics and support there from grandparents and things like that. And I excelled in athletics, and I think that kind of distracted me from some of the other nonsense that was going on. So there was that part that appeared that everything was fine, but then the other side, not just the religion, but the abuse that I suffered at home when nobody could see within the four walls of our home, my mom and I both, so sometimes I get torn talking about it because there are parts of my childhood that I do have good memories, but there are some other parts that were now at, almost 40 years old, I look back, that were very, very toxic and very, very damaging as I got older. Okay.
So since you brought up the toxic part, I'm not going to get into details about what it was that was toxic, but as you were growing up, did you notice that there were inconsistencies between what you were going through at home and what the Bible is teaching?
Well, the way I come to realize inconsistencies was actually when I got old enough where I was able to start going and hanging out at friends' houses in their homes and being around, them and their parents and how their parents interacted with them. And I was like, well, hold on. At my house, this happens. And, probably the most quoted scripture in my home growing up was spare the rod, spoil the child.
Oh, and yeah. That was at my house, too.
it was used as a method of justification, to, I don't know if you want to say mask or hide the abuse, but that's really what opened my eyes to it. But I grew up for many years thinking that's how you raised a healthy child.
Right.
If you wanted them to grow up and be responsible and obey the rules and do all that it was by all means necessary, so but that's how that kind of fell apart. So
what was your denomination?
Oh, wow. It was definitely the extreme side of the charismatic evangelical, health, health and money and, all that shit.
Oh, okay. So it was more like your preachers were prosperity preachers?
Yeah, you could say that. The church I grew up in, I actually just played little bits of this on our show the other day. I did a show on, why I left Christianity, and I showed clips from the church that I actually grew up in, just so people kind of get a little taste of what it was. But some of the guest or traveling ministers that I think most people that have been involved in in Christianity here in the States anyway, like your Rod Parsley, Les Summerall, what was the other guy's name? Jesse Duplantis, all these, like, these were normal names that, each year came through, once or twice a year and did guest ministry there. So yeah, that's the brand or the version of the poison that I was, intoxicated by, and definitely essentially made to believe or, indoctrinated into.
Right. Okay. Just to let everybody know, Oz's links will be in the description box of the YouTube, as well as in the on the website, secularminority.com, if you want to check out his video. So let me see what else I wanted to bring up. When you finally did realize that you had problems with what was going on with the not only the religion, but the Bible itself, when you finally did come to that realization, what pushed you beyond just saying, well, I don't want to go to church, and on to being atheist?
So what I've come to learn now, I've been an atheist for three, maybe 4 years now. What I've came in, and I'm sure you have the same experience, that there are some people, I like to use these two analogies. They're the few that it's like a microwave deconversion, where it's just like boom, snap, and it's done. Yeah. And they're like, I'm done with this shit. But most that you talk to, and I would fall into this category as well, it's more of a crock pot. It's a slow cook, and you gotta, everything has to cook down, and that's really what happened for me. And the other analogy I use is I went through the deconstruction and then deconversion process was chipping away at the wall, and it started to crumble, then it started to crack, and then it started to fall away. So what it looked like for me in that process was, to make a longer story short, I had lots of responsibilities at the church. My brother pastors a church here in the city we live in, about 700 members, something like that. Okay. And I was the full-time drummer. I oversaw small groups. I helped with the youth group, and then any inner city outreaches or ministry they did. I always, not every single time, but most of the time, would speak at those. So I was very, very involved. So it wasn't like I was just every once in a while attender. And there was a Sunday that I happened to not have any responsibilities. Didn't have drums. There was no small group things going on, so on and so forth. And I got to just sit out in the auditorium and take everything in. And the first thing I noticed was, as a drummer, all I'm worried about is the twos and the fours and staying on beat. Where are my fills? Where do I crash? So I didn't put a lot of time into dissecting the lyrics and the words of the music, because I wasn't there for that part of it. Right. And that Sunday, I'm listening to the words instead of just the twos and the fours. And I was like, these are creepy, guys. These are a little bit creepy. Like, what are we even talking about? Because I don't remember reading any of this shit in the Bible. Right. That same Sunday, after praise and worship's done, and you tell your brothers and sisters that you love them and you missed them this week, get all that done. My brother started to, share his message that morning, and he had shared a couple of scriptures, and he like the way he presented them, he was not making them contradict each other. What it was what he shared, this verse here and this verse over here. I knew there were other scriptures, so it was the Bible, either contradicting or going against itself. Mm-hmm. And while I'm doing that, I was like, hold on, but what about this verse? And, starting to connect these dots, and this light bulb went off in my head, and it hit me. I was like, all of these years, I have not one time sat down and read this book like I would if I went and rented a book from the library. Right. And just went through it, minus the indoctrination and the guidance and the supervision of, mom or dad, youth pastor, all that. And that's what really started to make the wall crack, because it was, I already had questions, but this is what made it start to crack, because I got a Bible. I got a new Bible, so it didn't have my highlights and my notes and all that in it, and I could read it with clear lenses to the best of my ability. And I barely got out of Genesis before I was like, "What the hell have I been reading?"
That's how I was too. That's how I was too when reading that Genesis. I said, "Wait a minute."
Yeah. Oh, and then by the time I got done through Exodus and Leviticus, I'm like, this God dude is a monster. This dude's a monster. Like, what am I doing right now? And then to finish the story, I had the atheist part. I remember I was sitting in my apartment. I used to have an apartment downtown, and I was sitting there and had the sliding glass door open. It was a beautiful day, and I had like 2 or 3 Bibles in front of me, these books, them stay, because I wanted to, Matt Dillahunty says all the time, I want to know more true things than not. And
right.
when I heard that, I've and I know many others have too, but I adopted that. And I was like, I'm going to do my due diligence, and I'm going to make sure that if I am going to believe in this, that I can, for myself, have a justified reason in believing what I believe to be true. And I remember that I think it was a Sunday, and I was sitting in my apartment by myself going through it. And I remember I just sat back on my sofa, and I was like, this is dumb. This is so dumb. I can't do this. And this is no disrespect for any theist that watches this. This is my own, my own reasoning and how I went through it. And it just hit me. It was like, I'm not a Christian anymore. Like I cannot align, and I cannot connect myself to this belief, because there's no good rational reason to do it. And I won't do it until somebody can give me that good reason, or show me that good reason to do it. And then when that happened, I'll stop there because I know you probably have some questions to do with that. That's when it went from the, I felt all the weight go off my shoulders, because up to that point, I lived in this fishbowl. My mom was a music pastor for 20-something years. My brother, still currently in the ministry. Everybody expected me to be in the ministry, and everybody wanted to watch everything I said, listen to, ate, drink, and it was like, oh, I don't have to do that anymore. I can just be me, and know that. So there was that moment of celebration that I had, but then all the bullshit from the religious trauma and everything followed afterwards. But I'll pause there because I know you're probably going to ask some questions. Well,
the only thing that I was going to ask you was, since your brother was in and your parents and everything, did you receive a lot of pushback when you decided to step back?
Passive aggressively, yes. Now, I will give my brother a ton of credit. Because just like the other day when I did the video of why I left Christianity, not only was he in the chat, but then I opened our phone lines up after that, and he called. Him and I had a great conversation, live, live there. He and my dad, I can say, have been great. Now, my dad's not like a hardcore Christian. He's I don't know if I've ever watched that man even read a Bible one time, but yeah. But he still claims to be a Christian, one of those Christians. But but others in the family, some of them, I've had some pretty hellish, conversations, or some passive aggressive, behaviors, things like that. Or other ones have been just outright disgusting. Like, why would you ever say that to me?
All right.
So yeah, there's been the good and the bad. But I do have to, because so many times, the Christians do get a lot of. They catch a lot of slack, because of the way they treat people that are leaving the faith and the religion, and that's accurate. They do, but when ones do it, and they do it in a healthy manner, and they handle it like grown-ups, I think they need to be talked about as well, because we can agree to disagree on the God and still love each other, and still help each other. And my brother's been the good example of how Christians should handle it when a family member or friend is walking away from faith.
Now, have you tried to, since you and your brother are so close, have you tried to talk to him about the things that you found out, and he's just not going to budge on the religion? Or
yeah, see, and we have a couple times, and him and I do. It's always a good conversation. There's one I remember where I could tell he was on his heels, and any Christian, doesn't matter if it's your brother or a guy you met, at the bar, you get talking about it. When they get on their heels and there is no good answer, they kind of get that flight or fight mentality. Because you got to remember, as Christians, that is their identity.
Yeah.
We go from attacking the belief and questioning the belief, and once they're on their heels and they feel like they have to fight or fly, it's now the Bible.
You just have to have faith. Yeah. They always say you just have to have faith when there's no answer.
Yeah. Well, and the other, and I think this is important to point out for anybody else that has family members that are in the ministry, and that is not only their belief and their identity, but it's also their source of income. That's how they, take care of their family, pay their bills. I think there's a lot of pastors. Obviously, I can't prove this, but I think there's a lot of pastors out there that either doubt, question, or might even be very, very deep, dark corner of the closet atheists.
Right.
But they're so afraid of losing that source of income. And especially the ones that's all they've ever done. Mm-hmm. They don't have another career path to go down or anything like that. That would be a very, very scary venture, especially if you got, spouse, children, things like that. So that's something else to keep in mind when you're engaging those people. And, the one thing that I've brought up with him and a couple other, I have a couple of friends that are pastors still, they'll say, well, if you do it and you take that leap of faith, if God is real and that's what you're supposed to, he's going to sustain you anyway. He's going to take care of you anyway, because remember, he's the way maker. Like he's going to make a way for you. They don't like that, but that's brutal. That's brutal reality. If faith is the key component for everything you do.
Right. And then we, for anyone who's watching, there is the Clergy Project for people who are, pastors or anything like that who have been questioning. They could go to that website. Is it clergyproject.com?
Yep.
Is that correct? Yeah. And talk to someone there. So another question that I have for you was, when it comes to religious trauma, were you able to find a therapist that was going to help you more as in another non-believer, or were you just okay with, did you have to be particular in picking a therapist?
Yes, absolutely. I refuse to sit down with any therapist or psychologist or counselor, or whatever they want to call themselves, that had any belief in a deity. I don't care what the deity was. It was off limits. I needed somebody that was on the complete other side of that, that discussion. And it took me quite a while to find the therapist I have now, which has become our family therapist.
Oh, okay.
And she's amazing. She's a secular therapist, outspoken atheist. And actually, her and I get to chatting sometimes, and I'm like, well, we should probably get to the session here. But on our website, tart.live, there's a section on the left-hand side that says Tart Helps. And what that is when there's a number that people can text and just chat with people. Now, the folks that you will be talking to are not professionals. They're just other human beings like you that have been more likely been where you're at, know how it feels to struggle with, mental health, issues, depression, bipolar, anxiety, all that. And always, if it's emergency, obviously call 911, please. Mm-hmm. But then there's also my emails on there, and I do have it set up with a secular therapist with great rates. So whether you have insurance or not, we can get you hooked up with a secular therapist that has nothing to do with religion or God or beliefs. And we can get you connected, and it doesn't matter where you live. They've agreed to do it, FaceTime, Zoom, Skype, whatever. So, I always want to plug that there, because that was a big deal for me, because I didn't realize how much trauma and how many wounds I had until I left. And it's very, very similar to when we unfortunately have to hear women that leave an abusive relationship, that they already know they're hurt, but they don't realize how badly they're hurt until they're out and they're gone. It's very similar to that because some of the same tactics, abusers in a relationship will use, leaders in churches or, religious establishments will use some of the same tools to manipulate and control that abusive partner will, whether it's manipulating through gaslighting or, there's a whole gamut you can go down to go through. And, my biggest one was I was deathly afraid of hell. Hell had been so pounded into my brain that if you do this, you go to hell. If you don't do this, you go to hell. If you do this. And I didn't realize how afraid I was of that possibility until I started to rip myself away from all the dogma and just the ridiculous beliefs. And we literally had to, after session, repath those, the pathways in my brain to where that wasn't my first response. If I did do something that I felt bad about, or I felt guilty about, or maybe had a question, was that the right thing to do? That my first response wasn't to go straight to hell, that there are alternatives. So for those out there, talk therapy, when you're going through the deconversion process, please do it. Please do it. It'll at least get you through that angry atheist stage a lot faster, right? At the very least.
And then think about it, though, that whole concept. So if you do anything I don't say, I'm going to burn you up. And you're like, wait, I can't get a spanking or something? Why do I have to get burned for life?
Yeah. And my favorite thing to talk about is if I'm having a conversation, I guess that'd be more of a theological conversation with believers. And as long as I was there, and that always being the root of the manipulation, is how is this God that's supposed to be all love? Okay. So you can't be all love and a little bit of evil if you're all love, right?
Right.
So either that book is lying, or your God is lying, or both,
right?
Or we all just got suckered into this for way too long and then finally figured it out. But if I would never do that to my kids. When it comes to my kids, I am all loving, and believe me, they F shit up all the time.
Right.
But I'm never building fiery pits in my basement to throw them into.
No. Or even, to put it in simpler terms, let's just say, for instance, if you switched it, if you didn't say the word God and the word hell, and you were a parent, and I found out that every time your child didn't do what you told him to do, you burned his hand on the stove for, a punishment, I would think that there was something wrong with you. But when you say God, when you say the word God, it's okay. He does things you don't understand. I do understand abuse.
And that is abuse. And it's interesting you just say that, because it reminds me of two things I just saw or heard just this last week. One, I heard a Calvinist say that if I can't remember what form of abuse it was, but if God performed this particular act of abuse, would it be moral or acceptable because it's God? And he said yes. And I was like, oh dear God, we've went way over here. Went way over here now. Mm-hmm. Because if his laws that he wrote in his book doesn't apply to him, then it is truly it's a tyranny. He's a dictator. I can do whatever I want, but all y'all got to do what the hell I told you to do. Right. Then what you just said about the hand burning, and obviously I'll never use names or anything, but I'm going to start using an example. When I was younger, we had a little foster boy that came to our house, and it was a terrible story. But this almost proves what you were just talking about. When we took him in, I remember he had like gauze like on his arms, and down on his hands. And I was a, pretty young kid. And I was like, Mom, what's wrong with his arms? And she was like, well, I don't know everything yet. So later the caseworker started to unbandage it to show my mom and dad how to bandage it back up. And his biological mom, to punish him and his brother, would either put the palms or the backs of their hands on a stove or put cigarettes out on their arms. And so in hearing what you just said to that, if we take that, because I think all of us would agree that that mom deserves all of the punishment that we could give her, right? Exactly. It's disgusting. It's unacceptable. And the fact that was even out and free to be able to have visitations blew my mind. Still does to this day.
Right.
So she does that, and we think all those things. But if God sends you to an eternal burning of not just your hands or your arms, but you, right, as the person, that's acceptable? That doesn't make sense to me. Right.
Right. And a lot of people's arguments are, well, he created you. Is that an excuse for being abused?
I didn't have to be created. Where's this free will thing?
Okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate here. What do you do when people come to you and they say, oh, you're just angry. You said it yourself. You went through trauma. You're just angry. Maybe if you tried Pentecostal, or if you became Muslim, or if you took Buddha's ways, then it would be different, and then you would believe. What do you say to people like that?
First of all, thank you for letting me know how I feel. I appreciate that. And also, I appreciate you now informing me how I think.
Right.
So let's start there. And then because before I'm an atheist or anything, I'm a skeptic, like in any and everything. And I would just ask you back, okay, how did you come to that conclusion? How do you know? Just because I went through a trauma or abusive relationship doesn't mean therefore this. So how did you identify that I am angry? I would swing it and do a backwards street epistemology. And we're going to get right back around to that God, believe me.
Exactly. All right. So let me bring up what you just brought up a few minutes ago. Tart and on your TikToks. I like your TikTok videos. You come across as being real and authentic and everything. How did you get from being an atheist to getting into social media the way you have? How did Tart get started? Let everybody know, and how you come up with the ideas for your TikToks. So I guess that's a 2-part question.
No problem. No, thank you for asking that. I'll give the easy answer first. Probably out of the atheist community in general, but especially out of the Tart crew, I'm the worst TikToker. I get on there. And whatever's on my mind, I'll do a little video about it. Or my thing now is I'll just go and I'll find a beat and freestyle for a minute. Whatever's sometimes having fun, but other times, more times than not, serious stuff. But so I'll come back to TikTok in a minute because it'll come full circle. But
okay.
So before the first person I met was Pasta Mike on TikTok, but before I had met Pasta Mike, my buddy Dylan, which was just on a late night show with me on our channel the other night. But he and I tried to do a couple things, and I was trying to put a channel together, and he and I's schedules just didn't click at the time. And so I had hit a point even before I had met Pasta Mike where I wanted to be a voice, because when I went through and I finally, came out as an atheist, I thought the whole time, oh my God, I'm all by myself. I'm not going to have any friends anymore. I'm probably not going to have family anymore. And that was a struggle for me because I am a people person. I love talking to people, being around people, meeting new people. And that, you know, and even the team camaraderie, you know, building something and pushing towards a goal like that drives me as an individual. And I don't know what it was. Somebody had sent me a video or something, but I downloaded TikTok for some reason. I still don't remember why I downloaded the app. And I remember I was on my back patio at my apartment, and Pastor Mike's account came up, and back then it was called Mike's Ministries, and it was all satirical, poking fun, having fun with Christians, and even the Christians liked it because it was in good taste. And they were hilarious, and so I immediately followed it, and I remember just cracking up, you know, going through all his stuff, and I started commenting on there, and he and I started having conversations just in the chat. Then we started a private chat. And during that part, not only was I leaving religion, but I was also going through a really ugly divorce. So I was really breaking up twice at one time. Right. I was losing my marriage and losing a relationship to this religion and this God all at the same time. And there were a lot of dark nights, you know, and a lot of lonely nights. And I remember trying to have to fight through that. And, you know, Apostle Mike didn't know this till probably a year or so after this, but I would literally go out on the patio, and that his TikTok account would kind of be my escape because it was atheist. It was atheist in as far as content, and it put a smile on my face. And I just wanted and needed something in that time of my life to help me smile, you know, and to give me a laugh, because there wasn't a lot going on in my life at that point that made me smile. Right. And so we developed that friendship, and then we had met J Mike, and then just Jeff and Murder Shed Steve. We all met there. And then next thing you know, we're having Skype chats, like video chats, and doing some of the satire on there. And we still have, Apostle Mike still has some of the screenshots of us, you know, like a year and a half ago or whatever, just cutting up and having fun on Skype. And then we started talking about it. Apostle was like, look, give it a shot. I mean, this it could be awesome. It could be nothing, you know? Yeah. And I'd never done anything like that before. You know, J Mike had never done anything like what we were doing with Tart before. And if you go back and look at our first videos, it was a nightmare. But we're very proud of you evolved now. Yes, we're very proud of the product we put out now, and we're going to continue to get better. And it's been fun.
All right. Okay. And you guys do look like you have a lot of fun, and everything is thought out. And sometimes your guests are a bit like, okay. It seems like they're you have two different types of guests. One type where they're good, they want to come on there and they really want to think about what's going on. And the other type is like, oh, you set me up, I'm leaving. You know?
And the thing is, we've never, and when I say never, that's based on my memory, but I know for me personally, I've never scheduled a guest with the intent of gotcha. Yeah. Like, I've never had that mentality, and I don't want us to have that mentality. I want them to be natural, you know, good, helpful conversations. But it's what you're saying really goes back to what we were talking about a little bit ago, where when you get some people cornered or you get them on their heels regarding their belief, and they don't have a way to rationalize or justify, or, you know, whatever word you want to use, that fight or flight mentality comes, and sometimes they peace out.
Yeah, exactly. And so what you were saying earlier about the TikToks and the rapping and everything like that, that's why I feel like it's authentic, because you're showing, you know, your personality, and you're just having fun, but you still have a message too, though.
yes. And that'll never stop. And, you know, I've always loved music. I play, drums is my main instrument. So I've always had rhythm's always been on my side. Right. I'm going to play a couple other, but I love to, I love the art of freestyling, and I'm by no means the best, but I love the art of it, because it has to come from an authentic place, and it has to come from a real place, because it's literally coming from your head to your mouth. There's no writing it down and making words fit here. And, I want this to say here. It's whatever's on your mind, whatever you're going through, however you're feeling, typically, comes out, unless you got verses memorized for days. Then, that. But that's not me. I have the memory of an ant. So.
Okay, let me take the atheist hat off right now and just put on social media. Around social media, they have been saying that France, last week, France announced their third national lockdown for a month. If you were the president, what would you do for the United States hearing about France? Would you do anything different than what's going on? Because we have people who are anti-vaxxers. We have the Q people. What would you do to get the United States back on their feet? We're just, if you were the president, what would you do?
First of all, that is one scary thought. Oh man, we'd be in trouble. I'm again, if that were me, and trying to be the best skeptic that I could be, the only thing that I could do would be follow the numbers. Mm-hmm. Where do the numbers take me? And what are the actual professionals, not the people with opinions?
Right.
What are the professionals saying that have the facts and have a grasp of, where were we 6 months ago? What impact are the vaccines having? Where are we at? And then make a decision based on the numbers and the trends. If we're trending down, then yes, we can afford to, after a little over a year, I think you can afford to start to become a little more lenient. Now, I'm not saying if you're going into a large auditorium or something like that where you have tons of people in there, no, you should probably still have the mask on, but like at a little mom and pop store where there's 3 people in there and everybody's kind of spread out in the store. I mean, what's the point,
Right.
And so again, I'd have to lean on the numbers and the professionals and then make the best educated decision you can. And the one reason I stay away, like on social media platforms, Facebook or whatever, I stay away from that conversation, but other conversations like it, is because, again, none of us are professionals.
Right.
All we have is opinions, and we're not as informed as even as much as we like to think we are sometimes. We like to think that we're more informed than we are. And that includes myself. There's things that, I didn't know as much as I thought I did. So that's where I'd encourage people, especially us skeptics, be skeptical, man. Don't go against what we're supposed to be doing is analyzing the data, analyzing the facts, and making the best possible decision based on that.
Right. That sounds good. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, but when it comes to something like that, I feel like if everybody cooperated, we would have another,